Guys, it's so lovely to see you again. How are you doing? How you doing? How's it going? How's it going, man? It's so lovely to sit down here and talk with you from my new location, not a new city. I just moved from the hotel room to a flat that I'm renting out for the next few days, for the next little over a week, I think, here in Cluj. I've been invited to the Transilvania International Film Festival, but I took that as the starting point for a longer trip in Cluj that I hope will be particularly productive, especially, after the festival for sure, especially in terms of maybe meeting up with some artists or filming from some art venue, something interesting for the long take series that is ongoing on this channel and viewed by tens of people. This is not a viral content channel, and it's completely dedicated to the long take. And in fact, this is my second attempt at shooting this video from my new location in Cluj, Romania, from the Transilvania International Film Festival, because the first attempt was interrupted by a phone call that scared the crap out of me, because whenever I get phone calls, period, but especially this late at night, because it's 11:30, it's a scary thing. It's never good. But, this time it wasn't so good because my interview with Danny Cote was cancelled for tomorrow. It was scheduled for tomorrow and it was cancelled. And another interview that was supposed to be on at a much more agreeable time is now going to be on in the middle of the night tomorrow after a screening session. It's going to be with a director. All of my interviews are on Fred FM, so check that out. I'm counting on you people. To keep this, keep my dream alive. No, to listen to what I do, not because I want to promote myself, but because I want to give meaning to. I don't know. If you actually, you know what? If you don't want to listen to them, it's fine. But they're okay. They're pretty good. They're just conversations, Guess what? So, I'm a little tired, I have to say, and I had 2 drinks earlier because I met a friend that I hadn't seen long ago. But my biggest indulgence for tonight is this. You see this? This, my friends, is the... You see this? This is the official invitation to the HBO party here at the Transilvania International Film Festival that is actually starting right now. Well, it officially started 3 minutes ago, because as it says here, starting on June 6th at 11:30. And guess who's not going to go? Me. Why? Because there's nothing more delightful, more pleasurable, that gives me more pleasure, that's a bigger indulgence in every sense of the word than being invited to a huge festival party, or being invited to a festival party and not showing up. Nothing gives me more pleasure than that. The days when I used to sneak into the festival parties were a lot more fun. Now that I get invited to the festival parties, I get fun out of doing the opposite. I get fun out of not actually going. And I didn't feel like going to a place 12 kilometers away, no matter how beautiful it is. And it is beautiful because I have been to the HBO party, 12 kilometers away from here, and it's, you would get a ride from the festival cars, but the thing is that you would have to wait to get on a car, and then to go back, it would be just as bad. I mean, it's always a mess. It's always a mess getting in and out, and then once you get there, the music is too loud, the people aren't necessarily interesting. Just because it's a film festival doesn't mean that the people who are invited to the festival are interesting. Very often they're not. I'm sorry to say that. But it's fine, because there are interesting people. In fact, like I said, I spent the night with a friend I hadn't seen in a while, and we had very meaningful and interesting conversations over a glass of wine and then a spritz, and then we went our own separate ways, and we'll be seeing each other for the remainder of the festival. And instead of going to this beautiful party, I just decided to sit down here with you and talk with you and have a chat with you. And I'm very happy. And yeah, the reason why I'm kind of sounding like I'm a little sleepy is because I am. I haven't really been sleeping well these past few days. I got bags under my eyes. You see my these bags? You see these bags? These bags under my eyes. Wow. Oh my god. So, anyways, well, also the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I didn't want to let it, drag too long. I've been meaning to talk and record my thoughts about the experience, the amazing experience that I have had at this festival. It was really an amazing experience. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go out of camera for a little bit. Because I need a little reference, a visual reference for what I'm about to say. So the experience, as you probably guessed from the title of the video, was watching going to a very special screening here at the Transilvania International Film Festival 2019 of a Chinese film called The Goddess. Now, The Goddess is one of the films by master cinematographer Wu Yonggang. I hope I'm saying it right. The reason why I'm kind of like, I'm surprised, I'm happy to be recording this video is because I was looking on YouTube for a video. I just did a quick browse because I was looking for a video where someone pronounced his name. Something like an interview or a video podcast about him, or just a mini documentary, something like that. I couldn't find anything. So I may be, and maybe I didn't look too well, but so I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. I may be the first person on YouTube who was recording a video about this man. Damn. But his films are actually on YouTube. So if you want to watch them, YouTube is a real treasure trove of films. You may not know it. So it's not only on Netflix, and it's free. It's a real treasure trove for film, and that's especially true of silent film, because we are talking about a film that was made in 1934. So, and this happens to be the gold, what is known, right in the middle of what is known as the golden age of Chinese cinematography, which is just a year when film production in China reached an early peak in terms of like the timeline of film history. I would love to get into why that is more, but I don't want to keep these videos too long. But I guess the important thing is to know, and The Goddess shows this very well, is that it reached an artistic peak, but also just the cinematography itself was so innovative that just looking at it, and I will admit, this was one of those films that I was missing, like I hadn't seen. It was on my shame list, what I like to call. And the reason why it was on my shame list was because I just never was able to sit down and watch it. And getting to watch it for the first time was an amazing experience, because to hear it here last night, because it was a live screening, and it wasn't just any screening, it was also a cine concert. And it was a cine concert that was accompanied by music written, composed, and performed by Gary Lucas, who's a guitarist. And that was really exciting, because even though I've been to quite a few screenings of silent films, especially when the times that I've been to the beautiful Pordenone Silent Film Festival in Italy, where they do live music, where they play live music to the films. I don't believe I've ever attended one where it was just a solo guitarist with an effects pedal and an electric guitar playing it. And the music that he played was very much influenced by, despite the fact that he himself is American, he seems to be he was very influenced by Chinese music. And apparently he had a Chinese wife. He said so in the introduction. And by the way, I loved his introduction because he sounded like a pure rock star. He had the, speak that I really like to hear. And I guess I'm kind of talking like that a little bit on this video because I am a bit tired. So I'm sorry if I sound very incoherent, and I sound a little obnoxious because my voice has gone down, and I know that I sound obnoxious. I promise you, I'm not. I'm trying not to be, you know. Anyways, so the film itself is about, very briefly, it's a really classic melodrama, you know, vibe and story. But the interesting thing is that its lead protagonist is a prostitute. She's a young woman who's a prostitute, who, you know, she's a prostitute, but hey, don't judge her. She's just trying to raise a kid, and she's just trying to look after the kid, her little boy, her one joy in life, you know. So from early on, despite this being a film made in 1934, it takes the side of the prostitute, and that's a real, you know, that's real empathy there on the screen, you know, to have that, to challenge the bounds of morality. Oh my god, I got another. Hopefully I don't get any more calls, because I really don't want to start this over. I feel like we've got a good thing going. Let's keep it going. How long have I been talking for? I think too long. Yeah, I always talk too long, but I'm trying to get better, guys. I'm sorry. So yeah, but one day, you know, this hopeless gambler approaches her. You know, he's in debt, and he just he's a criminal boss, and he just he assaults her and coerces her to work for him. Basically, he becomes her pimp, right? He exploits her. So all of the money that she makes from her work, he takes and gambles away. And she's stuck in this abuse, but somehow she manages to save a little money, and, you know, help his kid get an education, you know. I mean, basically, you know, this, despite the fact that she is the goddess of the movie, despite the fact that she's a prostitute, as the title implies, the film elevates her to, like, a goddess, which is not unusual, you know. It's both the traditional storyline of the sacrificial mother, and also the typical film that elevates the woman to, like, the figure of the angel in the house, the woman who is perfect and doesn't you know, that is an angel, that's just this otherworldly sort of creature to be held in the highest of esteems, and doesn't fart or smell at all. She's just this image of perfection and beauty, the highest of standards. Yeah, that's kind of what woman has been represented as traditionally a lot, and that's why a lot of feminist critics and thinkers have been exposing these storylines as just being kind of overbearing and just morally dubious, to say the least. But, you know, take it for what it is. It's 1934, and just the fact that it dealt with prostitution in such a really refreshing way, and it's pretty impressive. So it's quite a simple storyline, you know. I'm not going to say any more because I feel like I would be spoiling it a little bit. You know, the story, there's no huge surprises, let's face it. But, you know, you'll see, I love silent films. But you'll see that, and you'll find that in a lot of silent films, the stories themselves aren't, like, the most important thing about the film. It's very exciting to witness not only something that was from the past, because this film was shot in 1934 and presented in this beautiful screening in a church, which, you know, is fantastic, and is a fantastic experience in itself. In a new restored copy from the Chinese Film Archive, or the China Film Archive, one of those two. You really get to experience that way the innovative cinematography and some of the shots that we take for granted in modern cinema, but that when you see them, you know, in that silence, I guess accompanied by the music, you can really understand the power that these images would have had. And I was thinking, watching some of these amazing innovative shots, like how an audience that perhaps wasn't so savvy in them and was kind of immature in the art of film watching itself, because watching films is an art form, you know, I believe, or it's at least part of the art making process. So experiencing these shots at a live screening like that really helps you understand how exciting they were and how exciting they still are, because despite the fact that these films don't have any spoken voice speaking in it, any voices telling you what is happening, they have a language of their own, and the fact, in fact, that they lack the voice itself gives it a more interactive appeal. The audience is going to be interacting with the film in a bigger way, in a more even enriching way, I would say. So the cinematography is fantastic, and it really helps make the film very contemporary. And I also want to point out that the actress of this film, Lingyu Ruan, hopefully I'm saying her name right. Again, I couldn't find a pronunciation for her, but it was important that I would mention her, because not only is she beautiful, but she is also an amazingly powerful presence in the film. She's just she's a master actor. She's a master actor, and it's gripping to really see her, and how, despite the fact that, you know, people like to think that silent films have an exaggerated acting style, you know, you'd be surprised. A lot of these movies are remarkable also because they are very restrained, especially in the acting. But I would also, as a side note, say that even those silent films with the exaggerated acting, which is, by the way, not exaggerating, it's stylized acting, and it's a difference. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just a different way of expression, and that's all it is, you know, to understand that silent film is an art form in itself, is a form of film in itself. And it all combined together, all of these elements really make sure something truly special, and something that can really speak to a contemporary audience nearly 100 years from when the film was originally made. And that's certainly the case with The Goddess. Now, I was watching the film just sitting beside a scholar and a film critic from China who has become my friend over these past few days, I like to think, and we've spoken quite a bit, and he sat beside me and I was sitting beside him. And before the movie started, he made the observation that it was kind of strange to be watching a film in a church, a film that talks about prostitution, but anyone who has read or is familiar in any way with the New Testament would think otherwise, because in a sense, I think Jesus Christ had more empathy and more sympathy and more understanding for sex workers than even the church possibly likes to think. So it made absolute sense to have it there, and it wasn't just a wonderful experience, it was actually, everything worked. So I wanted to make sure that I would document my thoughts about it, and especially how, you know, a contemporary audience can certainly still enjoy a silent film that was made almost 100 years ago. I would even go further back than that, you know. It's a beautiful thing to get into, you know. If you call yourself a cinephile, you're not going to make the mistake of not indulging into silent films. But if you are, and you do at one point go become a regular festival goer, a film festival goer, I would suggest that you try out the indulgence of not going to the big festival parties. The bigger the parties, the more of an indulgence and the more pleasure you get out of not going to them and staying and working instead, possibly. Or just doing other things, sleeping. Bye, guys.